Well, first of all, I'd like to welcome all of you to Heritage Square Senior Housing Apartments. As you know, this complex is 69 units of affordable housing and one for the resident manager of the facility. This was a long time in coming. We are very happy that it is here. My name is John Kennedy. I'm the council member for District 3, and it is great to see all of you here tonight. I'm particularly hopeful that the supermajority of you are residents of District 3 because we desire to obtain some meaningful feedback related to housing in our community, and that is why, in part, that we selected this particular development to have our summer community meeting. For those of you who are in the back and would like to be seated, please come in. Don't feel bashful at all, just come on in. The first item on the agenda, besides the welcome, is the posting of the colors by the United States Marine Corps, 2nd Battalion, 23rd Marine Division, Sergeant Cam, Sergeant Sandoval, Sergeant Saunders, Corporal Smith. Please post colors. If you could please stand. For those of you who would like to, for those of us who would like to place your right hand over your heart, and we're going to say the Pledge of Allegiance. Ready, begin. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Please give a round of applause to the United States Marine Corps, 2nd Battalion, 23rd Marines, who are based here in the city of Pasadena. As you know, it has been my custom, as long as I've been in public office, to have such a ceremony. Normally, it is provided by the Blair High School Junior ROTC. It's summertime, so they were unavailable, but we're very grateful for our local Marines to participate this evening. The next item on the agenda is the opening prayer, and that's going to be conducted by Tina Orduno Calderon from the Gabrielino Tongva Culture Keeper. Please welcome Tina Orduno Calderon. Tina?
Mi Hanehinkum, hello relatives. I'm so happy to be here with you. I know this is probably something different for you all. So I first like to acknowledge the original peoples of this area of who I descend from. The Gabrielino Tongva is what they are called today. The closest villages to this area at the time were Akurongna and Hahamongna. And also would like to thank Mr. Kennedy for inviting us to be here. It's our custom to give a small gift. You would give that to him? And also, it's also our custom to acknowledge our elders and ask your permission for us to continue. Okay, thank you. Okay, so if you're able, I invite you to stand, and we're going to face the north. The north is where life begins. This is the place of the snows and the water, the place represented by the eagle and the bear who teach us how to protect our children. We acknowledge the ancestors of this area, which we call Tome, and we say, Yarar Komokre Hanuk Vatam, we remember you, my ancestors. And as we turn to our right, which is to the east, we call Komi. This is the area designated to youth. It's where the sun comes up and new growth is encouraged. It is represented by the deer and the hawk who teach us about reciprocity. We acknowledge the ancestors to this area, Yarar Komokre Hanuk Vetam. Turning again to our right, which would be to the south, which we call Katame. This is the area for middle age, but it's the place where the wisdom is housed, and it's represented by the snake and the owl who teach us about responsibility and commitment. We acknowledge the ancestors of this area, Yarar Komokre Hanuk Batam. And to the west, which we call Paime, this is the area designated to old age. It's where the wisdom is kept. It's represented by the raven and the dolphin who teach us about family ties and love. And we acknowledge the ancestors to this area, Yarar Komokre Hanuk Vetam. And through the west gates to Tokupar, the heavens, where our ancestors sit and guide us, we acknowledge them, because if it was not for their contributions, we would not be here. So I thank them. I thank them for giving us the strength to continue and to be here and to guide us and to let us know that we're doing right when we listen to our elders, when we follow the laws of the land, when we are respectful to everybody. Yarar Komokre Hanuk Vetam. And finally, our last direction is to our Earth Mother. So although I can't physically touch her, I just want to go ahead and represent our Earth Mother, who gives us so much. Everything that we need to survive, she gives to us. So I invite you all to please do your best to take care of her. No more poisoning the earth. Do what we can to not use so much that we pull from the earth, the extractions, the oils, the fracking, all of that. We need to do our best to try to help, try to minimize, drive as little as we can. You know, we had to drive to get here, so we know that it's impossible to give it up, but we could all do our little part to leave a smaller footprint. And so with this, I would just like to finish with a song for our ancestors. Way ya hey ya, way ya hey ya, way ya hey ya hey yo, way ya hey ya, way ya hey ya hey yo. Yarar como krehnuk vetam tu me komikta me pai me. Yarar como krehnuk vetam tu me komikta me pai me. Way ah hey ya, way ah hey ya, way ah hey ya, hey yo. Way ah hey ya, way ah hey ya, way ah hey ya, hey yo. Yarar como krehnuk vetam tu me komikta me pai me. Yarar como krehnuk vetam tu me komikta me pai me. Way ah hey ya, way ah hey ya, way ah hey ya, hey yo. Way ah hey ya, way ah hey ya, way ah hey ya, hey yo. Yarar como krehnuk vetam tu me komikta me pai me. Yarar como krehnuk vetam tu me komikta me pai me. Oh. And I ask for blessings for each and every one of you. Thank you so much for having us here.
The sage gift is a cleansing that we can use in our homes by burning it, and it's in the tradition of the native people of this community, Tongvas and Gabrielinos and Haamanga. The next agenda item, we're going to have to go out a little bit out of order because for the community social media outreach presentation, our public information officer, Lisa Dedarian, also has another presentation to make to seniors at another facility. So I would invite our public information officer, Lisa Dedarian, to come now. Thank you, Lisa. Come.
Good evening. I'm Lisa Dedarian. I'm the Emergency Management Coordinator for the city and the Public Information Officer. We had a slide we were going to show with our social media, if it's possible. Susanna's here to put that up, but if not, I will get that to her to disseminate to you. How many of you are on social media right now? Okay, that's good. Because as you know, Mother Nature was having a midlife crisis last week. We're all aware of that, right? So am I, but that's a whole other topic we'll discuss. So we need you to be able to find out what the situation is in the city after we have an earthquake. Day to day, we post social media on events, activities, but with the earthquake movement last week, we posted on our Twitter, our Facebook, and our Instagram account information that the city was not affected, we were okay, that the fire department did assessments in the districts, okay? But for those of you not on social media, you need to get information. So we encourage you to have your handheld radios with your batteries, tune into media to find out what is going on. And how many of you know where your local fire station is? From here, what's the closest one? Everybody, you can walk there right now, right? Station 36, right up the street. Very good. So when communications are affected and you cannot get on your phones, your landlines, or your cell phones to make contact, we encourage you to go to your closest fire station, give them information on assessment on your neighborhood, any injuries or damage, and vice versa. They will let you know what's going on that they're aware of. Hopefully the fire department will not be at the fire station, but we have volunteers that are assigned to the stations that can assist you. So I'm here to prepare you, not to scare you, but again, last week was a reminder we all need to be prepared. And if you have any questions, please call me. Susanna can give you my number. I'm doing disaster presentations this entire week for homeowners groups, neighborhood associations, businesses, schools, and I would love to come out and talk to you to make sure you're prepared. Okay? Thank you very much.
Any questions for Lisa? Does anyone have any questions for Lisa? Yes.
No, I deal with events, activities, disaster mode, so it's everything. And Mother Nature, it was a natural disaster last week, but if we happen to have anything man-made, any criminal activities. We work very well with the police department in getting information out on their behalf, so we keep the public informed. Just for the city of Pasadena, yes. Yes. Yes, ma'am. Sure. The best way to contact me personally is 626-744-4755, and I'll get Susanna information too. So hopefully she has a roster of the attendees tonight to get you my contact info. I work at the city manager's office at City Hall, and so if you call the general number, I will give you a call back as soon as possible. Sure. 626-744-4755. Thank you very much. Thank you. Appreciate you.
Thank you. Please give her a round of applause. Lisa Dadarian. Okay. Before we hear from the next speaker, I'd like to recognize all of the assistants that we have tonight, and the ambassadors. That's our young people who help us at every community meeting. The lead is Antonio Castillo, Iria Taylor, Eden Wright, Kevin Young, and then from Pasadena Media, we have Aaron Renwick. Aaron. We have Kevin Bruce. Kevin. We have Danny Hess, who also is an accomplished musician, and we hear from him from time to time in interesting ways. We have from the city attorney's office, Brad Fuller. Brad, longtime city employee. We have Nicholas Rodriguez, the assistant city manager. Nicholas was here, he's here, outside. Then I would like to recognize, I mentioned her name maybe briefly. Donna, if you're here, I'd like you to come up real quick. Donna Hess. Is Donna out there by any chance? Now, Donna is an interesting young lady. She is the manager of this facility. She's an extraordinarily talented professional. And all of the residents that I'm aware of and I've talked to, and I've been visiting this facility since it opened, are in love with the way in which she treats them and shows love to them. So I'd like you to give a round of applause to the manager of this facility, Donna Hess. She just told me not to be mad at her because she's not a Marine. She's the United States Army. So please give her another round of applause. Do you want to say anything about her?
No, I'm good.
You sure? Yeah. Okay. Normally she has something to say, so I'm surprised. Thank you, Donna. Appreciate you allowing us to have the district meeting here. Thank you. Thank you. On your way in, all of you may have received, or hopefully received, a survey called the Housing Survey for District 3 residents. Everyone in the room may fill out the survey, and when we tabulate the survey, we'll make a distinction between the residents of District 3 and other individuals who participated by giving us feedback about housing issues in our community. I think it's critically important that you educate the council member for this area about housing issues, and this is an effort to receive such education about the serious issue of housing, and hopefully formulate solutions that are lasting, meaningful, and a funding mechanism for building more affordable housing in our community. So I'd hope that as the meeting progresses, that you would take the time and actually fill out this survey. I think it's going to be helpful in terms of developing public policy in our community. So I want you to know, of late for sure, I'm listening, I hear you. With 70,000 people in Los Angeles who are without homes and 500 plus in the city of Pasadena without homes, I think it's safe to say that we have a housing crisis no matter how you slice it. And there has to be a way to effectively deal with that housing crisis. And we are the ones who are going to effectively deal with it. So I'm very much interested in the feedback that you may provide. I wanted to go over some quick updates on what we're doing around District 3 and the city. As all of you know, we have the Summer Rose program. And by the way, we have prepared, Susanna and city staff, myself have prepared a handout for you so you'll know about some of the ongoing activities and what I call going-ons in District 3 and in the city as a whole. So I'd hope that you'd really take the time to look at this. We took more than a week to condense this information in a way in which you could review it and then develop additional questions that you may have for the council member or for city staff. And I'd like to just roll through some of the updates. One, we have a Summer Rose program that hires young people in our community. There are currently 151 interns working in 15 city departments at 25 job sites. That's important because we're keeping our young people not just busy, but they're actually learning trades, learning about the workaday world, and they're going to implement those kernels of understanding throughout their careers. So we're very happy about the Rose program. Then all of you have heard different and various things about the cannabis program in the city of Pasadena. We've received, as you know, the request for proposals in, and there were 4, I may have this wrong, but there were a number of applicants that were successful in the first round, but right now the 3 applications that have been accepted that are currently being processed are 1, Harvest of Pasadena LLC in District 3, Varda at 335 East Colorado Boulevard in Council 4. There are 2 seats right here, and there's a seat over there. And if there are seats next to you, please just raise your hand so folks can come in. Seats? Okay. And then 3, Integral Associates, Dina, an LLC also apparently located primarily in the city, in Council District 7. And there are 2 additional applications were received for locations within Council District 3, our district, and I think it's important for me to let you know that. However, those applications will not be processed due to the city's restriction on 1 retail dispensary per council district. Should the current applicant for Council District 3 become disqualified, the next complete application with a compliant location within District 3 will be processed. The city anticipates that the CUP's conditional use permits for cannabis retail applications will be processed and brought forth to the Planning Commission via a notice of public hearing within the next 2 months. Many of you know that we've passed a tenant protection ordinance in the city of Pasadena. We have a fact sheet that we provided you on the tenant protection ordinance. Please take a look at it. And then wanted to give you a quick update on the adjustments to the minimum wage. Effective July 1, the minimum wage in the city of Pasadena increased from $14.25 for large employers, that's 26 or more employees, and increased to $13.25 for small employers, 25 or less employees, and we have an attachment there in your packet for you to review as well. Many of you had asked questions. Yes, ma'am. You can interrupt me.
You said there was a housing crisis in LA County, 500, you said, I think, in Pasadena.
In terms of the homeless count in the city of Pasadena, I misspoke. The homeless count in the city of Pasadena is approximately 500 plus.
Okay.
Yeah.
And so you have a crisis you have a crisis, and I don't think, I don't hear the connection. When you are talking about the youth, giving youth jobs, when you know about a housing situation that 16 families were displaced. I know of another 10 that are being displaced around that same area. Washington, 16 were displaced. There's people on Los Robles who are being displaced. When you're talking about your concern,
Can you ask me the question?
Yes, I'm giving you all the information so there wouldn't be anything left. So I'm making the connection.
All I would like you to do is ask the question.
Are you taking the mic away from me? Okay. So the question is, when you say that you're concerned that there is a housing crisis in Pasadena, there is. And then I hear you talk about kids having jobs. We're losing more families out of
Can you
the
please
question.
ask your question?
Okay, the question is, what are you actually going to do about it? Because the PTO has no teeth in it.
Okay, that's fair enough. No, that's fair enough. The question that the young lady asked was, what are you going to do about the housing crisis? I think the city council is grappling with that. One thing that we've done is pass a tenant protection ordinance. All of you have that ordinance. I believe it actually assisted you, but I don't know that factually.
No, don't take the mic away when he says he believes that that assisted me. I'm sitting beside a man in the community when we pray and talk about the elders.
I'll finish.
He has not been assisted.
I'll finish.
Okay.
So the objective of the tenants protection ordinance was to be retroactively applied to certain tenants. And I believe certain tenants at the housing development that you mentioned fell under the protections of the tenant protection ordinance. Those are private transactions between landlord and tenant, and the city of Pasadena took a first step, and maybe not a last step, to address that particular issue as it relates to giving more teeth to the ordinance that already existed on the books. I'm not saying it's going to solve all of the problems. All I'm saying is that's one step in the right direction. Another step in the right direction is for those of you who live in District 3 to really take serious the survey that I'm asking you to provide me feedback so we can formulate a comprehensive response to the crisis. There's no doubt there's a crisis. And I think all of my colleagues on the city council are concerned. We will demonstrate that by assisting in finding meaningful results. And I think when I get the information back from you, I'm going to tabulate that information, I'm going to share that information, and it's going to help educate not only me personally, but it's going to help my colleagues. Why is that so important to me? Is because in District 3, we have the highest concentration of subsidized housing. And I would like to see us build, meaning us being the city of Pasadena, housing throughout the whole city of Pasadena, as opposed to concentrating it in one geographic area. And what I found out recently is that the Housing, Urban, and Development Department has said in terms of resolution that you cannot have the concentration of their dollars in one particular area. It has to be distributed throughout the city. So I think the speaker, the one who asked the question, has legitimate concerns. I think that we're moving step by step to address some of those concerns. I'm not sure we'll be able to address all of the concerns because it is, in fact, at this point, private transactions, contracts between a landlord and a tenant. And the city did, in fact, step up and strengthen the tenant protection ordinances. And all of us can say it's not enough, but it's one step forward, and we need to do more. I'm admitting that. Okay, as I continue, the census count is very important for our district and for the city as a whole because based upon census, that tells us how much money is going to come back through or to the city via the county, from the federal government, from the state of California, and we want to make sure by census count that we receive our fair share. And as you know, that there's been some move afoot to stop people who vote a certain way, possibly, from being counted. Hopefully, the Supreme Court will hold fast and not allow that question to be placed on the census question sheet. We're hoping for that. It looks like that's going to happen, but don't hold your breath with this administration, with this Supreme Court. The next item I'd like to share, I think, is extremely important because based upon your responses to the questionnaire, you may say to your council member, we want you to spend more general fund dollars to deal with the housing crisis. So that's why on page 3 of 7, I wanted to show you what the capital budget is of the city. I want you to understand where revenue comes from. We put that on the operating appropriations by category for all funds. We put that on 4 of 7. And then also on 4 of 7, you have the annual capital budget, which is about $87.7 million and includes 206 active projects with an estimated cost of $905 million. So you know that we are not in a position to fund $1 billion in infrastructure improvements and capital improvements. Having said that, I know my residents, my voters, my residents, my citizens, my business people who live in District 3 really want this information, and I'm making sure that is in fact available so you can discern for your own the complexity that the city is dealing with as it relates to financing. Then there was a move afoot to eliminate the utility underground program. Now, what is the utility underground program? Basically, it is a program to eliminate blight caused by all of the overhead telephone and electrical wiring and put it underground. Certain areas of the city have received the funds necessary to do that, and there was a move afoot to eliminate the program, and the supermajority of the city council said, essentially, my view, my translation, is that it would be unfair for certain members of the community to have theirs underground and not have other areas undergrounded. So thank God we're still moving forward on the utility undergrounding program. The latest underground conversion project is going to be is at Hill Avenue and is essentially complete. The remaining established underground districts are Mountain Street, North Raymond, and are in the preliminary design phase. As it relates to Robinson Park, I love giving this update because we fought so hard to get the necessary funds to finish that project. And I'm still fighting for more monies because I learned that the heating, ventilation, air conditioning system, after you will have spent $20 million, has not been replaced. So I'll be fighting to have the HVAC replaced as well. So please take a look at 5 of 7. So city staff recently submitted a grant application for Prop 68 funding. The application is asking for $8.5 million to expand the project scope and include renovations to the playground, exterior basketball courts, gymnasium, and the parking lot. However, the city has already approved additional $4 million to deal with some of the issues that are at Robinson Park. Those are the pool house, the pool, and the outside courts. Please take a look at the Integrated Resource Plan update. The council adopted in 2018 the Power Integrated Resource Plan on December 10, 2018. The plan meets and exceeds requirements under the state law, including 60% renewable supply by 2013. In terms of a quick ad, if you will, when I worked for the current Assistant City Manager Nick Rodriguez, when he was the city attorney, I wrote the recycling ordinance for the city of Pasadena. And I'm proud to tell people that because it showed that I was on the right side of history as it relates to recycling. If any of you have been watching what's happening with recycling in the world, you know that there's a whole island of recyclables that are existing in the ocean, destroying ocean life. And what is to say our life is less important or more important than ocean life? If you destroy ocean life, you destroy human life. So we've got to deal with this issue. A little while later, you'll be hearing from folks about our new sister city in Dakar-Plateau, the Republic of Senegal. How in the blank does trash from California end up all the way in Dakar, Senegal? I don't know, but that's what's happening on their beaches. So there's some serious problems. On the Playhouse District, for those of you who live in the El Molino Union area, the project for the pocket park is moving forward. The council had committed in finding pocket parks throughout this city where there was a dearth or absence of park space, and this is a demonstration of the council and staff keeping its commitment. So we're moving forward with the pocket park at El Molino and Union. That's on page 6 of 7. Also, I'd like to ask Catherine Rejan to come up just so you all will see her, give her telephone number where we can reach her. She is responsible for, Catherine is responsible for local hire on the Lincoln Properties Parsons development. The Lincoln Property Parsons development is bounded by Fair Oaks, Walnut, Pasadena Avenue, and Union. And it is her responsibility to make sure our community is represented in that project. I think the last community meeting that took place at Robinson Robinson Park, you heard from her in terms of an update. And from the word that I've received is that we're moving in good fashion, but my view is we need to do better. So what I'd like you to do, Catherine, is let folks know how they can reach you.
Hello, pleasure to meet all of you this evening. My telephone number, my direct line is area code 626-803-2929. And you can also email me at Catherine, which is spelled CATHARINE, at the Construction Services Group. And we are, in fact, looking in every single corner, under every single rock, at every possible way to leverage opportunity for those who live in Pasadena as it relates to the 10 West Walnut project, because after all, it is the largest real estate development in Pasadena history. And because of its historical relevance and location, it deserves to make sure that that is a successful endeavor. So we are reaching out to not only workers, that means both construction workers as well as administrative and support workers. We're also working with local businesses for materials and supplies, as well as all local subcontractors, whether they be in a position tier 1, 2, or 3. In any way that we're able to move them in. This is, and one final area that conforms with the development agreement is that we're working with a mentorship, internship, apprenticeship program for programs throughout the city as well. So we've had some great strides. We've got a lot of exciting things that are happening moving forward, and please feel free to look us up. We have a website, 10westwalnut.com. We're also on Facebook and Instagram. So you'll find ongoing updates concerning everything that we're doing there.
Thank you very much. Let's give Catherine a round of applause.
Sorry, my phone number again, area code 626-803-2929. And we'd be happy to give you a card if you like. We'll be here afterwards. Thanks.
Fantastic. In the interest of time, I would just invite all of you to review the updates because we need to really move forward. That's why I had this packet prepared, so if I didn't get to everything, you would have it and be able to ask more questions. Thank you. All right, let's go to the agenda. And the next item on the agenda, and I hope at the end to be open for more questions. At this time, we'll have the recap of the Pasadena Sister City visit, Dakar-Plateau, Republic of Senegal. And we have the chair of the committee here, Boualam Bousselou, who's a longtime Pasadena resident, who is the chair of the committee. And we have Lena Kennedy, who is a consultant that works with the Dakar-Plateau Sister City. Are we going to review a video, or are we going just to have the presentation? The video? Would you like to key up the video, or would you like me to key it up? Okay. Pasadena media was so kind when we had a delegation come to the city from Dakar-Plateau, Senegal, to document their trip to, or their visit to the city of Pasadena. As many of you know, it was an overwhelming success, and I thought, or the committee thought, it would be nice if some of you, or all of us, saw the completed video. It's 95% complete. If it's ready to roll, it's 7 minutes.
In June of 2019, Dakar-Plateau, the capital of Senegal, officially became Pasadena's first African sister city. With a dedicated team of city leaders, a delegation from Dakar-Plateau was welcomed and hosted in Pasadena for a week-long visit.
Pasadena est rentré en contact avec Dakar-Plateau, c'était en 2018. Et une délégation de Pasadena est venue nous rendre visite à Dakar-Plateau en 2018 au mois de mars.
There were about 6 or 7 of us that went over. Boualam Bousselou, who is someone very active in the city of Pasadena, chairs the subcommittee of the Pasadena Sister Cities Committee, and he really was kind of the engine in terms of formulating the trip, along with others on that trip as well. The mayor of Dakar-Plateau hosted us and treated us with royalty, kindness, respect, and love. And as you may know, that Senegal, the Republic of Senegal, is approximately 95% Muslim, and for some that was a concern. But what I found and what we found is a respect of all religion and beliefs, or no belief at all. So that was positive. And then I also met with members of the United States Embassy there in Dakar, and I asked them critical questions about safety, how did they feel about the freedom of religion, freedom of the press, freedom of speech. And generally we got very positive feedback, and that's people that are in the current administration in Washington, D.C., serving in Dakar-Plateau. So we felt that we might be onto something really positive.
Depuis, nous sommes restés en contact et nous avons bâti progressivement cette relation, et ce voyage est venu concrétiser la signature de l'accord. Et nous avons décidé de collaborer aussi bien dans l'éducation et la formation que la culture, que le business, que le tourisme.
So there were various committees that were set up, headed by respected leaders in our community, and they were tasked with putting together this whole trip for the delegation of Mayor, His Excellency Aliou Ndoye, Mayor of Dakar-Plateau, and his delegation. During their visit, we wanted to make sure they really saw the heart and felt the vibe of the city of Pasadena.
Vous savez, moi j'accorde beaucoup d'importance à l'éducation et à la formation, et j'ai eu la chance de voir à Pasadena les meilleurs instituts de formation. J'ai pu visiter Caltech, Art Center, JPL, etc. Donc, et aujourd'hui même l'Université de South California. Le système, en tout cas, nous agrée beaucoup, et nous aimerions développer un échange justement au niveau de l'éducation et de la formation.
We took them to Huntington Library. Alkebulan Cultural Center because we wanted them to be in Northwest Pasadena, the heart of our community, centrally located. We ended the visit at the newly renovated, essentially $20 million facility, Robinson Park and Recreational Center, on Friday, the 21st of June. So we gave them a breadth and depth of what Pasadena really is. And we also took the time to have them get on the Gold Line and take the train there to Union Station, have a tour of Union Station, then on to the University of Southern California, gave them a little 30, 45-minute walk through of Beverly Hills, then we headed back here to Pasadena. For the city council meeting, it was packed inside and out, and there was a beautiful, fragrant diversity in the chamber and outside the chamber, just witnessing this historic event. There were some who started 20 years ago trying to find this city in Africa, and it just culminated this year. So a lot of people were very happy that there were those of us in the committee that pushed through to really make this happen. And so it was really ecstatic, but I'm really proud of my colleagues on the Pasadena City Council who saw the importance of naming a city on the continent of Africa as our newest sister city. And I think Terry Tornek is someone who provided leadership at a time when leadership was required. And that's what the city residents, voters always are looking for, someone to step up and provide leadership, and he did that. Then when the next day took place, which was the 18th of June, we had a wonderful celebration in the courtyard here at City Hall, and it was attended probably between 500 and 700 people. It was another outpouring of the best of Pasadena. Diverse, eclectic, black and white and brown and yellow, and all the folks who represent this wonderful city. We were extremely happy. I think the delegation was extremely happy how they were received and the love that we showed them and showered them with.
Vous savez, en toute chose, l'ouverture est importante et nous allons, dans le moyen terme, apprécier les bénéfices que cette relation pourra nous apporter. Mais nous sommes un pays, un État qui a eu la chance d'avoir comme premier président Léopold Sédar Senghor. Et depuis ce grand monsieur, nous avons su qu'il fallait se préparer à venir au fameux rendez-vous du donner et du recevoir avec ce que nous avions de meilleur.
It breaks down barriers at the local level where all politics and all good happens. It starts at the local level and it bubbles up from the local level, in my view. And so we're just ecstatic about the possibilities. We know that we're not going to change the world overnight, but this is a foundation upon which we can build upon, and young people can also participate and say, I have an interest in learning more about the cultures of another country and maybe learning something that I can implement here in my country and vice versa. So we're hopeful that our friends from Dakar-Plateau will take advantage of everything that they've learned here during their very brief visit, and that we'll continue the dialogue and see what concrete relationships that we can establish that will be mutually beneficial. I'd like to welcome Bualam Busalub, who has a short presentation along with Lena Kennedy. Can you please come quickly?
Good afternoon, everybody. Thank you for coming. There was a fantastic presentation by Councilman John Kennedy, and I thank you for Pasadena Media for a good job. I don't have much to add to that. What you have seen there is what has taken place. The part of our community, or our community, aspired to have a sister city in Africa for at least 20 years. That was the aspiration. 4 years ago, the inspiration came from this gentleman, our wonderful councilman, when he told me, we need a sister city in Africa. From there on, the system went on in its history down to this day. That's what I would like to say and explain that this is not the work of one person, it's the work of a committee with some members here. It's a very large committee. I would like to ask the members of the committee to stand up, please. And including my wife, who is hiding there. So we have spent several weeks, and I would like to salute, in particular, Lena Kennedy, consultant extraordinaire, that has done work when some of us were sleeping. I would like also to salute my vice chair, Gary Moody, in the back. Lina, would you like to add something, please? Any questions? To conclude, we need our support. This is nobody's program, it's a program for the community. So we need your support, we need you to be part of it in one way or another. Can we count on you? Yes. Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you.
Thank you. Okay. Yes, ma'am. Yes, ma'am.
I have a question. I was wondering, it seems that City of Pasadena is not taking Section 8 anymore. Why so?
Is Bill still in the house, or is Jim available? Bill?
Seems like they're not taking Section 8 anymore. Why?
Excuse me. We have Bill Wong, who is the director of the department, of our housing department. He can answer that question for you, and thank you for the question.
I couldn't hear the question very well. Was it why is there no Section 8? Or?
The question was, why is the city of Pasadena not accepting Section 8 housing? Voucher.
The way that the housing authorities operate is we open a Section 8 waiting list. Every housing authority opens their own Section 8 waiting list about every several years. So Pasadena hasn't opened its waiting list for several years, but it will open it. We plan to open it later this calendar year. So before the end of this calendar year, we plan to open our Section 8 list. Yes?
The reason I'm asking, there was I went to the office that was closed in this shopping center.
Mm-hmm.
And I went there.
Sure, when she asks it, yeah.
I just went there to see if I could get some information, and I saw a lady who looked like maybe late 30 or early 40. She said she was trying to see if she can convince them to keep her Section 8 going. They said to her, no more Section 8. She said, I have 6 kids, I've been there 10 years. Mm-hmm. And why so? I'm just being forced out. They haven't told me anything I'm doing wrong. I felt sorry for that lady. Mm-hmm. And she just left in dismay. I said, so now where do you have to move? He said, I have to do the best I can.
So she said she went to the Section 8 office and ran into a woman who has 6 kids. It sounds like this woman is getting displaced or removed from her property by the landlord. And so what she can do is that she can continue to use her Section 8, but she has to find another landlord that will accept it.
She didn't seem to have an easy way, so
That's
I
it.
just...
Excuse me. Oh, the young lady right there, and then you. Both of you young ladies, but the young lady with the...
Would you, John, support legislation for the city of Pasadena to eliminate discrimination against Section 8 holders so it would be possible for people who have a voucher to actually use it in the city?
I think that's a reasonable request, and I'll give it serious consideration. The young lady in the back.
Well, I'm Gloria Hughes, and I think all of us young ladies think alike. And that is my question also, is the same thing, that we have so many landlords that are not accepting Section 8, and we end up losing our Section 8 vouchers because we can't find a place in Pasadena. So I believe I'm asking the same question.
I think you have legitimate concerns and they deserve a legitimate response. And I'd like to invite Bill Wong to address both of your concerns.
Right, so there is legislation, and from time to time there's legislation to prohibit the discrimination against the source of income, like Section 8, which is good. But here in Pasadena and other very high-cost areas, the primary reason landlords won't accept Section 8 is because the Section 8 rents are much lower, which are set by HUD, are much lower than market rate rents. And so landlords cannot be forced to take lower rent. So that's the biggest issue. But the legislation is fine. That would be good.
We're going to move the program along, and we're going to reserve some time, hopefully at the end, to ask your questions. I also would invite those who I don't get to now to stay after. Staff is here to address your questions, but we're going to try to finish the agenda, and certainly there are important questions. Thank you very much, Bill, and thank you for your questions. The next item on the agenda is the police department updates from Commander Cheryl Moody. Then following Commander Cheryl Moody, we'll have updates from our fire department, Deputy Chief Brian Frieders. So welcome, Commander Cheryl Moody.
Good evening.
Good evening.
Well, the good thing is I can be brief, and I can be brief because crime is down throughout the city. So to be more specific, put my glasses on. Persons crimes dropped, falling below the 4-year monthly average. Robbery was very low. Property crimes decreased 25%. No, that's good. Commercial burglaries saw the biggest drop, with residential burglaries also dropping. So that's why I said I can be brief. But you know, what's of equal importance is that the categorical uses of force and complaints against the police department and the community dropped dramatically. So that's a good thing for all of us. So with that, if there's no questions, I'm going to turn it over to the fire department because we got to keep this party going. Yes, ma'am. Yes, ma'am.
Wait just a moment. Please. Mother Hawkins. Yes, ma'am.
I'll meet you in the lobby.
Yes, ma'am.
Meet him.
My question is, I have made numerous phone calls about the racing that goes on Fair Oaks, night and day. I have asked just a police car just to be parked on the street north of here and just listen. It is so loud. It is so disruptive. I have passed on the sidewalk in the morning and saw people's personal effects.
Mother Hawkins, ask your question, please.
What's going to be done about it? What's going to be done about the loud noises and the fireworks which are still going on?
Well, I'm going to send that information back to the patrol officers. We'll make sure we'll get the motor officers up here for the traffic issues. Well, it'll work for me. No, just kidding. But
You heard that, Mrs. Hawkins. The commander made a commitment to you that she'll get it done. Believe her.
Because woman to woman, we know how to do it.
That's right.
Please welcome Deputy Fire Chief Brian Frieders. And if I may, I'd just like to say the following about Brian. He brings a unique expertise to our community in terms of a national network of professionals who are dealing with cancer. And we have seen spikes in cancer, not just with our law enforcement, our public safety folks, but in the community generally. It's an issue that seemingly isn't going away, and it's in part related to diet and environment and work conditions and the kind of chemicals that we are being exposed to. So Brian, I suppose in his unofficial role, is the leader of this effort to address those known and possibly unknown carcinogens that are affecting specifically public safety and fire. But as we look at those are also affecting the community generally. So please welcome a professional on our fire department, Brian Frieders, who's looking out not just for fire folks, our firefighters, but is also looking out for the community as a whole. Welcome, Brian.
Well, thank you very much for allowing me to be here tonight. As my very good friend, Councilmember Kennedy says, being a firefighter isn't a job, it's a calling. And I believe that my calling was to come out and protect you. And sometimes we pay the ultimate sacrifice, and not some heroic act, falling through a roof or fighting a fire, but sometimes because of the diseases we're exposed to on a regular basis. 1 in 3 firefighters is diagnosed with cancer across the country. So there's a 33% chance that the people that are wearing this badge will come down with cancer. Recently in our department, we've had 7 members that have been diagnosed and have survived cancer. We've had 2 that have not. So I suppose when you talk about leaving a legacy in this profession, I don't really find that appropriate. I believe in living your legacy. And by virtue of my ability to go across the country and talk about cancer prevention awareness and protect our firefighters who protect you and bring forth some new efforts to try to reduce the risk, not only for them, but for also our community, that's a privilege. That's not a job. So I'm very grateful to wear this badge. I'm very grateful to be here tonight. Working in this is probably one of the best cities, if not the best city in the country. The things that we do here, the people in this city are some of the most affable, fun, loving, and accepting I've ever worked for in the 3 departments I've come from, and I'm incredibly grateful to be here. So thank you for letting me be here tonight. With that said, I got a couple of fire department updates. I'll take a few questions, and then we'll go from there. I'm sure it wasn't just me that realized that the earth shook a little bit last week. My children actually experienced their first earthquake this year, and I don't know if anybody was here for the '94 Northridge earthquake. I suffered through that as well, and this was one of those chances that you can say, if you have faith, now's the time to use it, right? But I think what's important to recognize here in Pasadena is because our fire department does a lot of preparedness so that this community remains safe. And when that earthquake hit, our folks immediately sprung into action. We have a very robust and articulate plan of action that we undertake immediately. So everything was dropped, and within seconds, there were firefighters patrolling the streets, looking for all the districts, making sure the hazards were dealt with and there weren't any significant threats to the community. And that was within seconds. And I was monitoring my radio from home, listening to this communication going on, and I was very reassured by the professionalism and the timeliness of our firefighters who went out to this community to make sure it was safe. And again, one more reason I'm proud to wear this patch today. With that said, what we really need from you is for you to be prepared as well. And I know there's a lot of talk about preparedness. A lot of us have talked about this over the course of several years because of all the predictions of these big earthquakes. Well, it happened. And that's not the end of it. And I'm not a fatalist by any means, but I'm certainly not, I'm wise enough to understand the importance of having a case of water in your house or in your car, making sure you have a change of clothes, making sure you have a place to go, making sure that fuel gauge in your car never gets below a half a tank. Guilty. Those are things that we think about when these earthquakes happen, because there's going to be a catastrophic earthquake sometime where there'll be no cash, there'll be no stores, there'll be no gas stations, and we have to be prepared for that. So I'm begging you, because we rely heavily on you, to be prepared for something like that. Have a backup plan, have an escape plan, have a meeting place where you meet your family if you're not home. Where do I find you if my house is collapsed? Find those places and recognize those ahead of time, so that if it does happen, you know exactly where to find your family. That's the most horrifying feeling, is when I'm at work and something happens at home, I hope my family's okay. And you don't have to experience that, because you'll have a good plan. Enough said? The other thing that our community offers is something called Please. I think Lisa might have mentioned it when she came up here. It's our community alert system. It's our public notification system. And it's kind of spelled funny. It's called Pasadena, P-L-E-A-S. Have you heard about that? And that's our public notification system. So if there is something catastrophic and you're looking for a place to go to find shelter, to find water, you can sign up for these notifications that will come to your email, it'll call your phone, it'll call your cell phone, and there'll be a message with some very explicit instructions on where you can go to take shelter or go to find refuge. You can go to our city's website, the City of Pasadena website, and in the corner you'll see a little icon called Please. And that's our community alert network that allows us to broadcast important information and messages to you should there be a catastrophic event that occurs. The other thing that the fire department is doing right now, and I won't take much more time, Mr. Kennedy, I apologize for rambling. I tend to do that. My wife says that. I'm not sure if that's true. Yeah, so. You know, we had catastrophic wildfires last year. I'm sure many of you saw those in the news. And even though District 3 doesn't really have a lot of vegetation and brush that's a threat, I think it's important to recognize what we're doing as a fire department to prepare ourselves should something erupt in the Arroyo and the hillsides and over in the Hastings Ranch area. I had a chance last week to take a helicopter ride with the county fire department to kind of survey all of the brush in and around our area. Mr. Kennedy referred earlier to the Summer Rose program, where we have youth that are volunteering. We have 5 of those Summer Rose members in our department right now that are actually doing weed abatement and vegetation management for us, and they're doing a fantastic job. So it's really a great way to integrate our community members and our youth to try to influence them to become firefighters. And that's kind of our sinister background as to why we're doing that. And they're doing a fantastic job. It's a great program. But what I saw from that helicopter was a lot of brush. And I saw a lot of overgrowth, but it's all green right now. We've had some pretty decent weather this summer so far. Would you agree? Well, I think starting tomorrow, that's all going to change. It's supposed to be 102, I think, by Friday. Yeah. So again, in an effort to try to help you, I just want to remind you that when this weather starts to turn like this and the heat gets hot, water, water, water. Even if you think you're not thirsty, you're probably thirsty. We recommend at least 6 bottles of water at a minimum if you're doing activities outside in that hot, hot weather. You got to make sure that you're hydrated, because if you're not, your heart stops working well, your muscles stop working well, sometimes you go unconscious, and that's that could be a significant issue for you. So just be really aware of the importance of hydration. Even if you really think you're not thirsty, it's always good if you're going to be exposed to that kind of weather that you get a lot of water inside of your body. Then you don't have to get a visit from us. As much as we'd like to see you, I'd rather do it in this kind of a form rather than in the back of an ambulance. Fair enough? So. Again, I just want to say thank you very much for the opportunity to be here. District 3 is one of my favorite districts in this town. I love working for the city of Pasadena. Again, if I can answer any questions now, I'm happy to do that. Otherwise, I'll turn the microphone back over to Mr. Kennedy. Yes, ma'am. Sure. Can you use the mic again? Oh, excuse me. Okay. We want the camera to pick it up so everyone will hear your question. Sister Lizzie.
Okay. My name's Elizabeth Ellis.
Hello.
And my question was, I know you were speaking about cancer, and then you also spoke about prevention and having things in our car. And you spoke about water. Mm-hmm. And I used to keep water in my car, but you know how we always heard about the water when it gets warm, that can also lead to cancer. Do you still advise keeping water in your car for the earthquake?
I do. I haven't seen any really relevant, there's always talk about something's causing cancer. We hear this a lot. I think most recently, one of the scientific studies that proved the Roundup issue, the Roundup weed killer, we've scientifically proven that that is a proximate cause of cancer. We know that. So I think our city has eliminated that altogether from what we do here as far as weed abatement. I've heard stories about how the water bottles sometimes, if they heat up, they cause cancer. I haven't seen any literature or validated scientific evidence that shows that's indeed the case. And when we talk about cancer prevention, when we make recommendations or we stand behind a cause, we want to make sure it's scientific, it's valid, it's peer-reviewed, so we're not just kind of going along with some sort of hype that someone else is pontificating. So I have not seen any evidence that shows that. What I think about in a car is if it's in the back of your car, it hasn't been opened yet, I think that there's an opportunity for you to have that in case there is something that happens where you can't get into your house, or you don't have the access to other kind of hydration. I think the risk there is probably more so of being dehydrated than having something that may or may not cause cancer. That's a good question. Thank you.
Okay. Thank you.
Yes, sir. Thank you.
Appreciate it very much. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Okay, ladies and gentlemen. Thank you very much, Brian. Thank you very much, Pasadena PD. For those of you who do have the concern about plastics in the water, I would recommend that you go to Whole Foods, not a plug for Whole Foods, but they have liter-sized bottles that are in glass, and the glass are separated by cardboard, and you can buy, if you choose to, a case of 12 times $1.50 and place that in your car if you have that concern, still after Deputy Chief Frieders explained as it relates to the studies that he's aware about. Okay? Now, I beg your pardon? I was referencing glass bottles that would give you greater feeling of safety if plastics are a concern. I've shared with you where you may find those particular glass bottles, not to put a plug in only for Whole Foods, but it's $1.50 per bottle. There may be other grocers that provide a similar product. My suggestion is that if you want glass that's durable, you can find it. Okay. So before we call up, make sure I got this right. Before we call up Pastor Terry Turrentine, hopefully he won't be upset that this is the only time he sees me and not at church. I'd like to go over some thank yous for those who worked so very hard to help us with our community meetings, and I'll go very quickly. Mary Carmen Moran from Census 2020, Julieta Aragon from the minimum wage, she's at the table outside, Carlos Hernandez from the Los Angeles Metro, Justine Dervayas from Urban Homestead, who's also at one of the tables, Will Stevenson from Urban Homestead, I would also like, as your program reflects on the back, if you would turn to it, the special acknowledgments, our young people, our ambassadors, the Arts and Cultural Affairs Division of the City of Pasadena, the Department of Commerce, the U.S. Census Bureau, the Department of Housing, that was the Department of Housing. You heard from Bill Wong, and Bill said that he would stay. Jim Wong is in the back if you'd raise your hand. He's also from Housing, he's here. There is definitely a number of issues related to housing in the audience. please don't go away empty, that we would like to continue to address those legitimate concerns that you have. Heritage Square senior apartment staff, you heard from Donna earlier. Lincoln Properties Development, you heard from Catherine Rejan. Pasadena Job Center is represented outside for our folks in our community who are looking for opportunities. Pasadena Library and Information Services, Pasadena Media, these professionals here who are not required to film our meetings but do so the broader community can share the information that all of you get firsthand. Pasadena Water and Power, and as I said earlier, Urban Homestead, who are outside dealing with the critical issue of housing. I would also like to say, particularly for those who hit on the critical issue of housing, I said it at the beginning, I'm reiterating it now. I see it as a crisis, and I see that your feedback is critically important for educating the council member and for educating the mayor and the rest of my colleagues. And I really hope that those of you who live in District 3 would take the time to respond, fill out the questionnaire, the survey, and return that to Susanna. Are you out there? Susanna? I'd like to introduce, if she's here. No, Susanna? I'd like to introduce, no? No, okay. I'd like to introduce one of our interns in the office, Tina Rios. Tina, if you'd come forward so they can see you. So Tina will be accepting your surveys, whether you live in District 3 or not. I hope that you will fill out the survey. And I may have done this previously. Tina has been interning in my office for how long now, Tina?
A few months, but I've been volunteering since November.
She's been volunteering since November of 2018, and she's been an extraordinary addition in terms of addressing the concerns of District 3 residents and making sure that their voices get heard by me and that information is disseminated to all of you. I also would like to introduce Susana Porras, who lives in the neighborhood on Sunset. If she would come forward. Okay. Susana Porras, who is the district liaison for District 3. As I mentioned previously, she went on to greener pastures, and she found herself returning to the better pastures to help all of you. Now, just a quick word about Homestead. I was experiencing allergies based upon all of the pollen that exists in our community. And that young lady by the name of Tina Rios, not by my asking, found locally sourced, come on up here, found locally sourced honey, come on, man, found locally sourced honey, and I would take a teaspoon of that honey to make my body adjust where I wouldn't have the runny nose, watery eyes, and the sore throat. And that honey, which was locally sourced, provided a homeopathic remedy for allergies. So I was not aware of that, but Ms. Rios, who is part of the indigenous community, shared that remedy with me. And this gentleman here from Homestead, it has another name too, right? Urban Homestead. Why don't you come and tell a little bit about you?
Thank you, really appreciate that. Actually, we're just down the road by Lincoln and Orange Grove. We've been there 35 years. My dad moved there. It was a redevelopment area there, and it's come quite a bit from that time. We have a local urban farm. We've been featured on CNN, Nightline, and Oprah, and we'd like, the council member said, we do have honey. So we try to promote urban sustainability in the city, what people can do in their own backyards. You can change the world, and you can change the world by growing something, and that's what we try to promote. Thank you.
And what is the address of the business, please?
Our website is urbanhomestead.org. We're off of Cypress, which is Lincoln and Orange Grove. It's a little cut-off street behind New Horizons School. Oh, it's just local honey. It's just local pollen honey. So it's just, yes.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Appreciate that. Thank you very much. Homestead in the house. And the good thing about Homestead, I grew up in the city of Pasadena, and many of you grew up in the city of Pasadena. I had no idea that that local business was in our community and benefited from some of the programs that the city offered in terms of, what was it called? Okay, thank you. Thank you. So what he was saying is that he benefited from all of the rebate programs that were provided by the city of Pasadena. That's what I call success, when the city and private business, our residents, work together to find solutions. I'm hitting hard on the housing issue because we have to find solutions there as well. Yes, sir. The boundaries? Okay. All right, it's okay. The boundaries are on the website, but generally I'll tell you, if you take the freeway at Colorado and the 210 freeway going east, which is going north, you follow that boundary all the way to Washington on the south. You take Washington all the way across to Los Robles on the east, and you go up to maybe about Elizabeth, and you go over to El Molino, and you take El Molino on the west, you go all the way down El Molino, and it'll jog over just a little sliver of lake in Colorado, and basically Colorado on the north between lake and the freeway is District 3. All right. Last question, young man there. You're the young man.
Say your name and the question. My name is Anthony Medusas. I want to thank you and the residents of District 3 for supporting homeless senior housing next door at Herod Square South. That is a real testimony to the spirit of this community. I also want to say that the city has the possibility of building homeless housing at a city-owned YWCA right next to City Hall. If you support that, come see me.
All right, that's fair.
You have a question?
All right, now I would like to welcome Reverend Terry Turrentine to the podium, my pastor. I rarely give him a plug that he's my pastor, but I think I better since I haven't been attending lately. So good to see you, Pastor. Yes, good to see you. Let's stay at attention. We're almost finished. And then we'll ask staff a whole host of questions outside the room. Before we adjourn, I need to let you know what has happened. The gentleman named Thomas D. Scott, where this particular meeting room is named after, died. Yes. So I'd just like to read something briefly about him. Bridge Housing commissioned the bronze bust of Thomas D. Scott, the philanthropist, who donated this land. No. He didn't donate the land to the city. We purchased the land. Tom Scott has been an exceptional man his whole life, front and center of the issues of his day. He was the crest of the civil rights movement, television's heyday, and redeveloping inner cities. He was among those recording history alongside Gordon Parks, photographing conditions in Black America. Always working to improve those conditions, Thomas Scott participated in the Student Nonviolent Council Coalition. His daughter remembers the voices of her childhood being those of people others only read about in history books. He was on the leading edge as a Black cameraman in the film industry and spent his later years donating time, effort, influence, and real estate to build better communities for Blacks and other minorities within the city of Pasadena's Northwest, PAC for Community Development. Tom Scott has quite a record. This sculpture highlights these accomplishments in the stack of film canisters, film strips with a bit of Hollywood bling to acknowledge quote unquote award status. His ascot tie, tilt of the head, and easy stance belies a man of cool wisdom. His eyes reveal a visionary. The sculpture is Georgia Hannah Oliver, who signs her work. Tolana has been an artist in various media her whole life. And as opposed to just leaving in silence, I would just say if we could give a round of applause to Thomas D. Scott. Thank you. Pastor.
Can you grab your neighbor's hand and sign a gesture of unity? Father God, we thank you for this day. We thank you for this time of fellowship with our neighbors. We ask, Lord, that you continue to good work in us, Lord, that you've already started. Lord, we ask that you bless us with your wisdom, your guidance, and your love. We ask for your provision, Lord, as we endeavor to do your will. We pray for our community leaders, Lord, and all those who work so diligently on behalf of this city. Father, we ask that you continue to unite Pasadena in your love and in your mercy. Lord, we ask that you bless the Scott family. Send comfort to them as they have lost a loved one. And we ask that you bind us together in unity. In Jesus' name, amen.